You're listening to the Tech Addicts Podcast. This week, the NexDock XL, AI rendering Doom, Marshall's new portable speaker, Wear OS 5, a new version of the Spectrum 48K, Atari 7800, and Retroid Pocket coming soon, and the new Samsung Galaxy rumour to note. Hello and welcome to the Tech Addicts Podcast. It's the 1st of September and all is good. I'm back with Ted, and how is Ted?
1st of September. It'll soon be Christmas, you know. I'm alright, thank you. I'm fed up with going to the dentist, and I'm sick of everything in life except lovely technology. The weather in North Wales is much better now. It was very hot yesterday, but the night times are okay, and it's just really nice. At the moment, it's clouded over, and it's about 16 degrees or something like that. This is just fine, this weather.
Yes, it was a scorcher yesterday. I was actually worried we were going to get burnt because we were off out at a social event. Actually, on that note, speaking to a lady there, she said, "Oh yes, it's almost Christmas." And I said, "No, yes, I can't wait. We have to get through Halloween first." And she went, "Oh, that means there's going to be a Black Friday between now and then, isn't it?" Oh well, that's something to mark on the calendar, isn't it? Black Friday.
And a Cyber Monday.
Great. I didn't feel like responding. I snarled at her and walked away. Black Friday. Responsible for putting up prices between now and then.
Mm-hmm. But yes, it was. Right. We got some really good feedback about Jason being on the show, Jason Bradbury.
Who? Oh yes,
and lots of people were saying that was a really good scoop. So however you did that to get him on, well done. And everyone was, and I was saying on Whatever Works last week that I was just really surprised at how tech centric he was. I'd kind of imagined he was a TV presenter first and tech interested after, or secondary. But he was clearly very knowledgeable, and he knew what he was talking about. And he kept up with the conversation with us and led it in many ways in terms of AI particularly. It was a real good scoop to have him on.
Yeah, I actually imagine that he might be one sort of step ahead of what they were looking for in the gadget show, where it was more kind of routine, mundane, average everyday tech, whereas he wanted to take it a step ahead. Because I did have a look at some of the things that he's done in the past, where he's approached the government about changing technological standards and stuff like that, and which goes further than you would expect from just an average TV show presenter.
Yeah, definitely.
But his Kickstarter for his movie is going live fairly soon, and he put out a promo yesterday, I believe. So I'll maybe attach that to the show as well if I remember later. Aye, yes. So we'll see if we can line up another special guest for another day. I'll contact Elon Musk and see if his people are willing. Who knows?
We'll have Susie Perry, please.
Oh, that would be fun. Yeah. No, be nice to have that. Right. Okay. Well, moving into the feedback zone, we have one piece of feedback from Adrian Brain, who has bought a new product. Ted, do you want to take us through this?
Yeah, he's bought the NexDock XL, which had to be imported from America. He says beware, because it was $368 to pay to NexDock to order it. But when it arrived in the UK, there was another £96 to pay for import duty and VAT and stuff.
Ransom.
Yeah, so be careful about the pricing, because there's no stock in the UK. You might expect a place like Clove in Poole to hold it eventually, but not at the moment. And so it's import only. First impressions are very good, he says. It's sleek and sexy, but by heck is it heavy. 1.9 kilograms. Just to explain, the NexDock XL is the latest generation of the NexDock, which probably most people listening to us will know what it is, but it's a kind of near dumb laptop thingy that you plug your other devices into, and it's got a keyboard and a touch screen, and in this case it's got a trackpad on the right hand side, which is one of the reasons it's really heavy, because it's very big. The keyboard is fine, Adrian goes on to say, but it's a USA layout, of course. The trackpad on the right that I just referred to isn't great. The 15.6-inch screen is fine, but it is an LCD. The screen rotates 360 degrees, but the hinge is weak, so there is screen wobble. Put that down, whatever you're playing with. The speaker is laughably bad, and that seems to be a theme with these NexDock devices. Because my one is the same. My NexDock Touch, the speakers are really bad. Wireless is definitely laggier than wired, as you probably would expect. Ports are a USB-A, micro SD, 3.5mm jack, USB-C charging, which seems to top out at 44 watts, USB-C with DisplayPort, and even a mini HDMI in. The NexDock can Qi charge your phone if you put it on the strip above the keyboard. It works fine with Stream Deck and ROG Ally. Steam Deck and the ROG Ally for USB-C for gaming. There's a teeny bit of image ghosting, but no more so than a cheapo monitor. I'm not dispirited with the device. It does exactly what I need it for. It's just that in an era where it's actually quite hard to buy a bad phone or laptop, the NexDock XL should really be doing the basics a bit better. And I saw somewhere else that someone was saying the LCD screen, yes, it is fine, like Adrian says, but if you take it outside in daylight, and let alone bright sunlight, you basically can't see it. So it is a very basic screen, but most of them are going to be used indoors, I guess. So I think that's a good summary, Adrian. Thank you for that. And it is a bit of a shame that they don't just go the extra mile and make it that much better, particularly if you're going to end up paying what's $368, about 300 quid. So it's going to be £400 all in all, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you're not even getting the guts of a laptop inside of it. So you'd like to think they're really putting the effort in to make the price justified, because it doesn't have those expensive internals.
Yeah,
I do like the NexDock project. Don't get me wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I have bought one in my time on this earth,
mm-hmm.
But I only kept it for a few months because I found it just didn't measure up to everything that I wanted out of it, and maybe I was being too demanding at the time, and figuring I'll get one of these as they perfect it more and more. But I've seen every generation coming out, including the one you have, Ted.
Yep.
And just thought, it's still not quite there. The next one's going to be the one. And that's what you see in all the reviews is, yeah, we're getting there. The next one is going to perfect all of these little inaccuracies. And people say, oh yeah, they listened to us whenever we said the trackpad was a bit crap, and they fixed it in this one, but then in the next one it's back to being crap, or what have you. So it just seems to be a bit of a mishmash of quality failures. And that's really, really sad. Mm-hmm. But I love the idea of it. I do.
Yeah. Very much so.
You still have yours?
I have got it, and I whenever I'm reviewing a phone, particularly, I get it out and see if it works, and see in which way it works, and if it's got full keyboard and touch screen controls, and how far I can push it. Even if a phone doesn't have proper support like DeX or Smart Connect from Motorola. Some phones will work with it, particularly if you put it into landscape mode and run some video on it. And a lot of devices will hook up with the keyboard and the touchscreen as well, and the trackpad. So yeah, I do still have it. I don't use it regularly, but I certainly like playing with it, and it's good fun.
Yeah, it's strange that they're actually still afloat, because essentially they do exploit a niche product, or a niche features built inside of various devices. The Steam Deck is very popular, but I can't imagine too many people running out needing this to add to their Steam Deck.
No.
And people who use decks, I don't think most people realise they have decks or can use decks. I've said it to a number of people who have S24s and S23s and things about decks, and they're like, oh, right, okay, my boss has one, and he's like, I never knew that in the slightest. And I'm like, well, it's in there. You can hook it up.
Yeah.
And he said, oh, I'll try that, and never did. Never paid any attention to me and disappeared off. But they're selling to even less of the niche of the people. It's bizarre. It really is. But they still keep going. So more power to them. I hope they just make that perfect device next time around.
Yeah, definitely. I like them as a little company, and it's no wonder that they have to charge so much, because as you say, it's very niche, and they probably don't sell very many. So it's kind of supply and demand pricing, isn't it?
Yeah. All right. Well, moving into the next section, which is Linux Levity. That's a new name for it, but we'll run with it because Ted seems to be quite proud of it. I've been playing with Linux quite a bit recently. One of the things that I did whenever I made the big change from Windows to Linux Mint is my peripherals. Okay, so I did have a bunch of peripherals plugged into my computer under Windows, and they were all running happily and singing nicely. But I had a little audio device called the Sennheiser GSX1000, which you can plug your headphones into and your microphone into and your speakers into, and run various different audio routines and things like that, and fiddle around with different settings to allow for more immersive sound whenever you're gaming or watching movies or just doing a podcast. You can set up defaults and hit buttons, a bit like a Stream Deck, I suppose, and it'll set up certain audio profiles for you as you're using it. And when I first stuck on Linux Mint, I never thought about that particular peripheral, but I went to use it and realized, oh, bugger, it doesn't work very well, and whenever I adjust the volume, it just turns the volume right the way down, because the signals that this device is sending to Linux, it doesn't quite understand, and it just buggers up, really. Mm-hmm. So I put it back in the box and thought, well, that's a loss, okay, because I looked online, see if I could find out how to fix it, and in not that I'm anyway a Linux master in the slightest, I'm still very much an idiot when it comes to Linux.
A newbie.
Yeah, a newbie who's building a little bit of knowledge about it, and I suppose confidence to be able to fix things myself. I looked at what some people were saying about it and thought, no way, that's Greek. I do not understand that in the slightest. I'll just put this back in the box and set it over there. And I was the last couple of podcasts we've been doing, there's been little audio issues and things like that, and plugging things in, using this headphone and that headphone, moving from one microphone to another. I've just always had to do little dinky little things that have bothered me in order to get the audio right, and then it's changed for the next thing. But that's always been an issue whenever you're using multiple audio devices and things like that, and getting everything level is not as easy as it was to being able to push a button on your interface and get it working. So I went looking for another interface, and I thought, why am I going to buy another interface to be able to do all that whenever I've got one sitting over there? And I went and got it back out again, stuck it back in, and got it working, and so followed some of the instructions, asked a few questions on the Linux Mint forum with the beautiful people who are there. They are absolutely tremendous people who suffer idiots so well. Anytime I've asked a question, it's been like, yes, you've done this. I'm like, oh, of course I have. I'm an idiot. Oh. It's like whenever I'm doing something as simple as SSH, which some people will go, oh, what's that? And then other people go, yeah, that's a very standard Linuxy thing to do. I didn't realize it was case sensitive up until someone told me it was case sensitive. Mm-hmm. And it was just a complete stupidity on my part. But I guess you have to learn one way. But now I've got this up and running, and it's running really nicely. And the person who actually posted the guide to it says it actually runs better under Linux than it does under Windows, because you can now access the gain controls and things like that, and have more variety of controls through the actual unit itself. Don't ask me how that works, but maybe in the months to come I'll have worked it out. But dead chuffed I've got that working. I just thought I'd throw that in somewhat quickly before I go on to my actual discovery on Linux, which was an app that's a FlatHub, there are a flat pack that you can go and grab, but it's also in the Linux Mint store called SpeechNote. And this is a voice to text parser, I think you'd call it, or a machine translation application. And it's absolutely brilliant. I've never heard of it before. I was just, someone recommended it and said this is the most flexible, and it's tiny, and it just works. It does what you want it to do. And I went in and I installed it and had to play around with it, and I started using some of my localizations. Say, for example, if you walk in Belfast, you walk up to someone and say, "Excuse me, sir, what is the time?" Roughly translated, that will come out as, "Here, mate, what time is it?" And it does rather well at that. It actually managed to record those words, "ear, mate," as in "here, mate," which put the H in, which is silent. What time is it? And it was able just to distinguish the speed at which it was said. It really is an exceptionally powerful piece of kit. And I read through, synopsises from movies, from Star Wars, from Star Trek, which has big, different words, weird words that might not actually enter into the English language or the dictionary. Read from technical specifications and things. And it took quite a lot to confuse it. There were only a few things that it actually stumbled over. And it beautifully handles commas and periods and question marks. It detects them itself, which is astonishing. So I'm dead chuffed for that app. I'm struggling to think of any practical use for it, but just to play, it's there if I ever need it, and it's great.
You could
SpeechNote.
You could transcribe your side of recording a podcast.
I could do, but then that's only my side, and that's the nonsense side. You're the one that actually provides any quality information that people listen to.
So going back to further back down the line of your monologue there, you use the word app, and the
application,
the whole thing feels to me as though it's not really apps. It's bits of, like in the old days, it's bits of program and bits of software, and not apps as such. I mean, there's not an app store, is there, for Linux or for Mint or whatever you're using?
Yeah, there are.
There are. So somebody must be kind of keeping those up to date and doing that. Yeah. Okay.
The one under Linux Mint is called Software Manager, and it's a very friendly, sensibly laid out app environment, which is divided into categories for accessories and internet and sound, video and games, and there's different ways of installing apps on Linux. You can do it through the terminal, you can get Flatpak, you can get snaps. Some people prefer one over the other, but whenever you're using Linux Mint, because it is it's the step between Windows and actual raw Linux, hardcore Linux.
Okay.
You can still have the best of both worlds, where you have like a Windowsy type interface to make it easy to download Steam or OBS or Blender or something that's available. But it brings with it different things. The look of my Audacity through this is a wee bit different to what you would expect on Windows. It just looks nicer because it fits in with the themes, and it's got a different icon in the toolbar. And I think it's a newer version of Audacity, and eventually this will filter down to Windows. Not sure, might be wrong about that. But
so is this like, for example, SpeechNote developer is Mikhail Koziesa, or how you pronounce that. So is he making any money out of this, or
no?
No, it's all like the old days with not even shareware, where they're hoping people will contribute or anything.
No, it's all open source, so people that's their safety way, I suppose. Whenever someone publishes an application, it goes up, say, through GitHub or through FlatHub, and then other people can go and grab it, download it, have a look at the source code, and see that there's nothing bad in it that's reporting back. And Linux is such a small footprint at the moment that it's you don't tend to get very nasty stuff at all on Linux, and it's a lot more of a secure running environment. So everything in this store is free. I have one paid app that I use to send you stuff on Google Drive, but and it just keeps things synced. But I've never actually paid for it. It's just run. And it was supposed to be a 7-day trial, but it just seems to have gone on. I don't know. Maybe they're encouraging me to pay for it or something, or whatever. But all software seems to be free on Linux so far. You can get stuff online that you can pay for, and buying games and stuff like that through Steam is that way. But people seem to just want to be able to do this, and then other people take the source code and they can make a different fork of it and change it in another way. Mm-hmm. So where you have something like, say, Firefox, you can get, what's it called? Hardened Firefox, which is a fork of it where they've taken it and they've beefed up the security and the privacy side of it so that it's impenetrable to spyware and that kind of thing. So. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, you'll be interested to hear that I've made the first step or two towards joining you in this experiment. Oh. I've got an HDMI cable into the back of my monitor, and I've got my little what's it called? B-Link box.
B-Link, yeah.
And it's all ready to kind of go, and what it needs really is someone to kind of hold me by the hand. And I'd also like to be able to switch my keyboard and my mouse by Bluetooth between the two. So while I'm doing this, I don't want to have a complete separate setup. I want to use the monitor that I'm normally using, the keyboard and the mouse that I'm normally using, and then just switch between the two. There's a button on the monitor to switch between the two HDMIs, so I could easily do that. So anyway, it's not forgotten.
No, that's the best way to do it. My only word would be patience. You need to have an awful lot of patience with this, because it's a different language. It's different to what you're used to, and you're going to be completely out of your comfort zone. And it took me a couple of months of running both Windows and Linux Mint before I decided I feel confident enough to be able to use this as my main go-to. But I had to, whenever I was booting up the computer, I had to decide, am I going to do a Linux Mint day today, or am I going to go with Windows and just be comfortable and not have any jumping through hoops to have to perform in order to do something? Yeah. So it's a tough one. But you might find yourself enjoying it because it is entirely new, and because the community is just so friendly and open. And that's something you don't get on Windows. Yeah. I hated asking questions of anyone on Windows online, because it was just like, did you Google it? I'm like,
Yes. Yeah. It's still there in my head, and the gear's here to do it. I just need to take the leap, and if I can run it with the same keyboard, mouse, and monitor, and just switch on the fly between the two systems, I'd be much happier than just trying to just make the change and have to go and sit at another desk to do it, for example, and it all be set up somewhere else. Anyway, yeah.
I was thinking the other day, actually, whenever I was finishing my day and I was turning the computer off, and I heard the wee blip blink of Linux sort of shutting down, I smirked and I went, well, that was nice. I just thought, I enjoy using my computer a lot more than I did whenever I was on Windows. I never thought that. It was just like, is it going to turn off today? Is it going to shut down? Or is it going to restart? Or is it just going to sit there with the fans going? Don't know. It's difficult to tell right now.
I do agree, but, although to be fair, Windows 11 has been better in that respect. My Windows 10 machine was, when I turned it off, it just came back on. And I never did get to the bottom of that. The only way I could fix it in the end was to turn it off and then go and stand by the switch on the wall. And when it started up again, turn the power off. And then and then once the power was off properly, turn the power back on. And then it didn't start up.
Yeah.
Anyway, the Windows 11 I've not had that problem at all.
Yeah. Well, this is the longest honeymoon period I've ever had with an operating system. I just say it is. I look forward to turning it on and having a wee play and just doing anything, it's computing for joy as opposed to, I'd be trudging up the stairs going, right, I got to turn this on, I got to go and do this, and then I'll turn it off again and go and get on with my life. Whereas, it's like, I've got a wee spare hour, I'll go and fiddle around with this and see what I can do.
Which is exactly what I used to do with DOS and right back in the XT days, and that those first computers with the 5 1/4 floppies, and you went and sat at it to do stuff for fun. It wasn't a working tool that you relied on for your life to do everything like things tend to be now. And if I can approach Linux in that way, it's a fun thing that, okay, it may in the end take over, but if it doesn't, it doesn't matter. It's just in the meantime, it's just some fun and very interesting.
Well, I would say that you need to do a wee bit of reading as to which distro you want to go for. Do you want to go Debian? Do you want to go Ubuntu? Do you want to go for Zorin, or do you want to go with Linux Mint? Because then you still got Debian and Ubuntu to choose from, because there's 2 different flavors of Linux Mint, a bit like peppermint and spearmint, I suppose.
Yes.
So you need to sit down and actually decide which way you want to go. I think you might be a Zorin type guy, but you also might be a Linux Mint.
I think it would make an awful
Ubuntu.
lot of sense at this stage to do the same as you're doing, because I can ask you questions and what have you, and then if we're using the same Mint system, you'll be able to kind of throw advice back at me.
Okay, right.
You can be my tech support.
Poor advice. Oh, you want me to go and ask the Linux Mint community for you? Okay, you're just being shy. Gotcha. All right, well, moving into the news, and views. We're going to start off with a wee story about the offside rule. Apparently, only AI can understand the Premier League's offside rules. Ted, do you understand the offside rule?
Yes, I do, but I also understand why it is probably the thing in football that causes the most controversy, or it used to when I used to watch football anyway, because every time anyone was caught offside by human beings, by linesmen, as they used to be called, there would be arguments. And this system where apparently they're turning a bunch of iPhones, I think it's 22 iPhones they're going to put around the pitch. And they reckon that with this smart bit of software that's being included in it, Genius IQ, AI, it will constantly analyse what's going on. It's got every inch of the pitch covered between all these phones, and they'll be able to just get the AI to call offsides or not call offsides. And from the way they're talking, it sounds like it's going to be very reliable, very good, and what have you. Now, we also have a background of this this system. What's that system called with the cameras on the goal line?
The camera on the goal line system.
I can't remember, what's it called? VO something. Oh, VAR. So the VAR system.
VAR, right.
Yeah, they introduced quite a while ago now, but that one was, when they analysed the VAR system afterwards, it tended to be really, really good. You could see if the ball was over the line or if it wasn't over the line. But this takes the whole thing a huge step forward and covers the whole of the pitch. So it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, I always remember as a kid, it wasn't really called the offside rule, it was called the offside argument.
Yes.
Because you tried to explain it, people would argue with you.
Yeah.
No, I can't even remember what it was about at all.
I used to be a real big football fan, so I did know what the offside rule was and how it worked and what you had to do to avoid it and all the rest of it. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see if this develops and whether they adopt it outside of the Premier League.
Well, it could be kind of fun seeing it going forward, but I guess it would. You can't get people shouting and hurling abuse at the ref if they believe it was not offside.
Ultimately, the way that's going, the referee and the linesman, I think they're called referees' assistants, aren't they? Yeah. They'll just be defunct, won't they? They'll have robots, AI, making all the decisions, and then if the players end up in a punch-up, they could just get on with it, can't they?
Oh yeah, they could be active distracting or taking down the crowds. Equip them with chainsaws, the crowds. I think. All right. Speaking of robots, essentially, a Chinese company has busted. Busted showing off humanoid robots that actually have humans inside. So they weren't really robots. They were just, I don't know, very thin people.
They'd have to be, wouldn't they?
Inside of like an exoskeleton type thing.
Mm.
Which is, I suppose that's one way, but did they get caught on because one of them went to the toilet?
Yeah, there was something to do with food eating, I think. They caught them in the canteen. But everyone that's been on social media this week would have seen these clips from the World Robot Conference in Beijing last week. And I was looking at these clips thinking, are they really robots? And they look too human. And sure enough, I was not surprised at all to see this come out. All of them were not humans. There was only 2 or 3 of them, I think, that were humans. But it was obvious that, they just weren't robots. And so I caught them out before this firm did.
Well, you need to make your robot look like an actual robot, not like a human. I think that's the big giveaway.
Yeah.
For years, they've had robots in TV shows that kids have believed are real, like Robbie the Robot from Lost in Space, or Twiggy. Well, no, Twiggy did sort of look like a... yeah, you guess you could argue. But kids believed all those sorts of things. So they need to apply that logic. R2-D2, that's what I'm thinking of, not Twiggy. Right, yeah.
Indeed.
Okay, moving into the phone zone. No, we're not. We're moving into the hardline for the hardware. Realme's got a 320-watt SuperSonic Charger that fills a battery in under 5 minutes. The clock is ticking on these, I suppose, and we're just getting to the point where it's not going to take any time to charge a battery at all. You're just going to have to walk through a doorway or something like that, and your battery's going to be charged. But 4 minutes and 55 seconds is the record, I think, now, which is pretty incredible.
That was Redmi's record, but Realme have shaved 25 seconds off that, they claim. The standard was a 4,400 milliamp hour battery, and they did it in 4 minutes and 30 seconds. They're calling it the Pocket Canon.
Oh dear.
Yes. So 4.5 minutes from a 4,400 milliamp hour cell, and it's incredible, isn't it? This is the kind of thing that will eventually probably kill off Qi charging, I would imagine, because people won't be needing to bother with it. They'll just plug it in while they not go for a shower, just go for a pee.
Yeah. I was in the airport quite recently, and we were sitting at a table having a bite to eat, waiting on the plane, and this fella came over and he said, "Can I use that power, the plug?" And he pulled out this giant GAN charger and whacked it in, and he stood and talked to his mates for about 6 or 7 minutes. And then he turned around and he unplugged it, and he was like, "All right, yeah." And I just got the impression that he was like, "That's pretty much full."
Yeah.
It's like, wow, that is it. That's how you travel. Is just all you have to do is plug in for a few minutes while you're we were there occupying that table for maybe 20 minutes, and that could have been all of our phones charged without having to worry about any form of where we have to go to charge. Just all we need is a plug outlet.
Sadly for Americans, for a change, they won't be able to get this though, because they've got their 110 volt system, and it just won't work in the same way at all. But the rest of the world,
unless they lug around a transformer with them.
And if America can't get this, then of course it won't take off, because they just seem to lead everything, don't they? So
I don't know. When it comes to this, I think with both Europe and Asia, that's 2 big continents against America. I think it'll win, and the Americans will just be really annoyed.
They had that with that OnePlus phone, didn't they? That everyone else got a 150 watt charger, and they got an 80 watt, I think it was. And there was much gnashing of teeth.
There was, but it was good fun all in all. Because the Americans have so many things that are better than us, like Tubi. Their version of Tubi is better than ours. Right, a modular Raspberry Pi 5 tablet has arrived, and this thing looks fantastic. You've seen the keyboard before. I think you can buy this type of keyboard fairly easily off Amazon, but it's not the same as the one you get there, but it just gives you that idea of that wee portable keyboard with a trackpad to the right and tiny little clicky keys. But that with how large was it? I saw it earlier. Was it a 5-inch screen on top of it? I think it was 5.
I didn't see that detail. I know it's a 7-hour device, the top bit.
Yeah, maybe it's a 7-inch screen.
Right.
And it's, you've linked to the XDA website here. I read it on a different one a few days ago, and I just thought that would be nice. With a 5-inch screen, that fits really nicely in your bag. But now I'm thinking about it, might have been a 7-inch. But it would still fit nicely in your bag. And the keyboard is detachable as well. It's a gorgeous looking little piece of kit. And I imagine that people would snap this up. And if it runs Raspberry or Pi OS or Raspberry Pi OS, I think it's called Pi OS, then it can do everything. You can even install DOS and have a 386 machine to play Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis on the train.
I watched the YouTube linked video for this, and there's somebody on there for 2 or 3 minutes just playing around with the UI, not using the keyboard but just using the device itself, and it looks great. It looks like he had games running on it and all sorts of utility functions. It felt very much like what we were talking earlier about, really, very much like old-fashioned DOS and Linux, no doubt, and all the rest of it. And yeah, all sorts of stuff he was demonstrating. Click through, dear listener, to the link in the show notes, and then follow your nose to the YouTube video and have a look.
Quality piece of kit. In it. Right.
$200. They reckon.
Oh, I didn't even see there was a price tag.
Yeah,
I thought it was a homemade thing.
No. They reckon it's it's a company called Souls Circuit, and they're aiming for a production cost of under $200. So you can sign up and register your interest. I guess it's a kind of Kickstarter-y type thing.
Right. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Gotcha. All right. Well, also weighing in at about $200, or I think it's about. No, maybe it's slightly more.
$1,200.
No, it's not. $1,200. Okay. I don't know what I was thinking about. There was something we saw earlier that was £179. Wasn't this? Right. Okay. Trusted Reviews has reviewed the FiiO K19 desktop headphone amplifier DAC thing, and it's an interesting review. I would say that it's a little unfair because under the cons section they have said that it's possible to go over spec as a con, which no, that's just desperately reaching out for any form of con. Yeah. You're obviously going to get one of these, aren't you?
If I had £1,200 spare, then I think I might spend it on the next item we're going to talk about rather than this. But I do love the look of this. FiiO stuff is so nice. And this K19 is basically a headphone amp, but you can use it for plug it into your system, and you can put the audio in from any source you want to, and it's got HDMI out and in and USB-C support, and it can just basically, when they say it's over-specified, it basically can do everything, and it can do everything in terms of audio at top quality with the kind of files that audio files would be interested in, which are what are they called? FLAC. I can think of the word. And the device itself is made beautifully out of aluminium, one block of aluminium apparently, with a lovely stand. You can get it in black as well. The black looks much more sexy. On the front, it's got old-fashioned dials, and it apparently, according to these people, they feel like they're just beautifully made and crafted. And there's a screen on the front that tells you, a little screen telling you, what you're doing and where you're going and where you are. Just looks lovely, and I'd love to have one of them, but I really don't have a need for one. So I'll save my money for the next item.
All right. Yeah, no, it's a decent looking thing. I absolutely love reading these to see, because sound quality is something that's really difficult to describe in written text.
Mm-hmm.
And I hated doing headphone reviews because you just want to say, yeah, the sound quality's good.
Yeah.
But that's not enough. You've got to do more. But the writer here, what's his name? Umigum McGumgum. Yeah, I don't see it. Oh, Simon Lucas has done some pretty good. He's got some bullet points here to say that sound quality, detail and dynam. I can't even pronounce it, let alone write it. Dynamism.
Yeah.
To burn. It's brilliantly focused, confident sound that's not afraid to slum it. Wow.
That presumably
there's a lot to unpack there.
That means it will play MP3s as well.
Yeah.
It slums it.
Yeah, you don't quite get that initially, but reading through the actual review, you're like, oh, right, okay, gotcha. Fair enough. Yeah, it's a well-written review. Obviously, a professional review writer there. It's nice to see.
Yes.
So, moving on to the next one, which you're very excited about, would be Cambridge Audio's first all-in-one speaker that is also a hi-fi sound bar. This is a rather attractive piece of hardware with walnut on top, I do note. Tell us about that.
This looks. If I had that kind of money to spare, I would definitely be rather getting this. Cambridge Audio. I had some Cambridge Audio separates back in the day when I had a proper hi-fi system, and they were just gorgeous. They were so nice, and they continued to have a good reputation, I think. But this thing is an all-in-one device. Now I've got an all-in-one device which I bought years ago by Ruark, the R2 I think it is, or the R1. No, the R2 I think it is, and it's really, really good. It's an all-in-one device that defies the space in terms of stereo. So you're sitting in the room with my Ruark device, and there's this spatial stereo thing going on, and you think, how on earth are they doing that? And they're throwing the sound around by managing the software. This thing takes that all a step further. 700 watts of power from 14 drivers. And in this article we're linking to, you can see a breakdown. They've taken off the grills from around the edges of it, and you can see all the speakers around it. And on the front there's an OLED panel which tells you what you're doing and controls. Sadly, there's no actual turny dials on it. It's got push buttons instead for the controls. But again, like the FiiO thing, you can plug all sorts of stuff into it and plug your hi-fi system into it, and it's got a preamp for a tuner in it, and it just looks lovely. And I want one very, very much, but I couldn't possibly turn it up probably past volume 1 with my living situation, which would kind of defeat the object of it. It's going to cost £1,500 or thereabouts, and you can pre-order it from Cambridge Audio at the moment. But it's that broken down. Where they've taken the grills off, and you see all the speakers, and it's the stripped down version. You think, wow, that is a piece of kit and a half. Don't you fancy one of these?
I do, but I wouldn't use it as much as anyone else would use it. I find it difficult enough even just using a Bluetooth speaker at the moment, because you just being able to sit down and fiddle with it and spend time with it it's too much. There's too much to unpack here. Even with the FiiO K19, it would be wasted on me these days.
You're spending too much time with Linux, obviously.
Well, yes, it's got graphical interfaces and things like that allow you to play around with your audio rather well.
Yeah, very nice.
Carrying on with speakers, we're going to go for Marshall's new portable speakers, which have arrived with a drop-in bass and louder output and smarter features. I take it you're buying one of these
When it says
currently?
when it says drops the bass, it doesn't mean that it drops it and makes it disappear. It means that it produces bass at a lower level. That headline's a bit shit, really.
Okay.
They ought to change that because it's misleading. So. One of the things they've included in this is dynamic loudness, which means those people that complained about these smaller Marshall speakers distorting at top volume, this shouldn't happen anymore because they've put in this thing called dynamic loudness, which means however high up you turn the volume, it will manage that and it will change the tonal balance as you go up. Now you could argue that that's taking away the fine control from the user, but actually that's probably quite a good thing that people are doing, are needing to do if they're having those problems with it. So they've added all sorts of other stuff. There's also the second device here. So what we've got here is the Willen 2 and the Emberton 3. And the Emberton 3 is the bigger device. The Willen 2 is an upgrade on the little Willen that I've got here, which Steve Litchfield bought for me. Thank you, Steve. And so I think the changes are kind of iterative, like they tend to be these days. So there's a few increases in specs and making things a bit better. The prices are kept much the same. The little Willen is £100, which is not far off what the Willen 1 cost. And the Emberton 3 is going to be 150 quid, which is, again, not far off what the Emberton 2 was. So, very, very nice. Iterative updates. And, yeah, very, very nice indeed for those that are on the lookout for a yet another Marshall speaker. I can't buy any more Bluetooth speakers, surely.
No, you will. I'll give you maybe 3, possibly 4 weeks. It depends on whether or not Amazon sticks it with 6 monthly payments.
Yes, indeed.
But you're still paying off the last one, so you can't buy this until you've paid off the last
But you
one.
can only listen to one at a time. I've only got 2 ears.
You've got 2 rooms, don't you? You can have one in one room and one in the other room.
Yeah, and then kind of walk between the two and...
All right. Well, we're going to stick with you, Ted, actually, because you put in an article to the new application that Microsoft has put out for audio recorder. Tell us about that.
Well, I was a bit disappointed when I started to explore this because it was obvious that the only thing that this Microsoft audio recorder application, app or whatever, software, whatever it's called, is to record your voice or record whatever you plug into the system. I couldn't find a way of doing what we do with podcasting, which is to record a third-party piece of software. So I couldn't get it to record a Skype call, for example, which is something that we do. But in terms of being an audio recorder, and you can plug a microphone in and save files in various file formats: M4A, MP3, WMA, FLAC, and WAV, or WAVE, whatever your flavour is. And you get a nice little readout while it's doing it, and you can save the file, and if you want to afterwards, you can get it transcoded by Google, no doubt, or even Microsoft. And yeah, it seemed to work all right. It did the job and it was fine. It's just that it felt as though it was kind of too locked into Windows to be of much use unless you're sitting in front of your computer with your guitar and just singing a song and playing your guitar and you want to record it, I guess. Is that how you picked up on this?
Well, I kind of lost interest. I just thought, it's an audio recorder. It's the same as WAV recorder from years ago, where you just sit in front of a microphone and blather away.
Yeah.
I never even thought about it actually integrating into third-party applications. But they've never really done that, have they?
No, so it will not be getting any attention at all. Go away.
But it might be useful just for those with a little laptop that suddenly need to record a bit of voice software and don't have the internet to go and download a decent piece of software to do it. So it might just be functional, as Windows tends to like to put things in. It's like the calculator app. It's just a calculator app.
Yeah.
You can go and get a better one if you need
Yeah,
one.
yeah, and people like us probably will use Audacity, and you don't, because basically Audacity only records my voice. It's doing the same thing as Windows
Yeah.
11 audio recorder, but I guess we just have been used to using those tools. Anyway, there you go, Windows 11 audio recorder.
Grand. All right. Well, there's a bit of Android Police, I think it is, have put up an article about Wear OS 5, the watch software that is due to drop fairly soon for smartwatches dating back to 2021, which is pretty good. What's on yours at the moment? Is it Wear OS 4?
Yeah, 4.
Right.
And
Okay.
5 is coming. Although Wear OS 5 is going to be released with the release of the Pixel 3 watch, which is just around the corner. And Samsung are lagging a bit behind on Wear OS 5 apparently, because they've got to kind of build one UI on top of it and all the rest of it like they normally do. I asked Malcolm Bryant, our friend developer from PSC Land, to comment on this, and he says, as with all major Android version updates, this comes with some pluses and minuses. With Wear OS, Google makes some decisions that are especially frustrating. For example, Wear OS 5 will force apps that are running quite happily in the foreground in ambient stroke low power mode into the background, such that the watch face is displayed after a short period, which means that long-running apps, think run, walk, tracking apps, have to keep the display alive, thereby using much more power than before. Totally bananas. More seriously, he says, the decision to abandon support for the old-style coded watch faces means that people who currently monitor their blood glucose levels from their watch face can no longer do so with Wear OS 5, which will impact the Samsung watch face certainly. As you can imagine, that's pushing some diabetics away from Wear OS watches and in towards Apple watches. Although Apple watches don't do blood sugar yet, do they? But there are third-party apps that you can install on Wear OS that do that. One of the other things that it is doing is emulating the grid-based app launcher, which Samsung has already got. So on the Pixel Watch, they're going to be including, instead of it just being on a scrolling line up and down, it's going to have a grid in it. And also you can choose what media output device that you're going to use, so you can switch between your phone and your watch. I tried to listen to some audio on my watch, my Samsung Galaxy watch, and it was so shite that you think, who on earth would want to do that? But anyway, they've decided that you can now switch and storing media, storing MP3 files on your watch. I did do that, and before I knew it, it was full up because it's only got 32 gigs of storage. And anyway, 32 gigs will be enough for most people, no doubt. Anyways, yeah, so some enhancement, some cautionary tales from Malcolm Bryant, and a way forward for the next generation of Wear OS.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting that it's going to impact on some of the fitness apps that other services provide. Say, for example, Samsung Health, where they might be monitoring blood glucose levels and things like that for you. Obviously, Google has purchased Fitbit, and they're kind of tailoring their Wear OS to be able to incorporate all that exists in Fitbit. But they could end up angering up the larger portion of Wear OS users, because I wouldn't say the Pixel Watch is the largest market share in the slightest. The likes of, say, Samsung will obviously cover a larger portion of the consumers out there. So if they start losing potential features out of their watch, they are going to end up ditching Wear OS altogether.
They tried that before, didn't go very far. Well, Tizen, wasn't it?
Samsung did.
Tried to use Tizen for their first watch, or the first and second watches, and it all fell apart.
Yeah.
And they did a deal with Google and went to Wear OS, and kind of never looked back really. But yes, if they start stripping out, if Google starts stripping out features, then you can expect Samsung to be shouting and screaming. And if Samsung shout and scream at Google, Google tend to listen these days because they're ambassadors on Earth. And when it comes to Android and Wear OS and all the rest of it, so they want to make sure that it all works properly. But
there have been court cases in the past. Relationships have been severed for smaller things. You know, whenever Google shot Archduke Ferdinand back in 1914, Samsung were not happy. Oh no, that wasn't them. No,
you've lost me.
Never mind. The phone zone. All right, we've got Redmi Note 14 Pro, which is just about to come out. I've got a funny feeling you're not going to like it. This is a really
quick one. There's nothing to see here really, except that they've imagined a new kind of camera island. That's it, really. There's a leak of this picture of and it looks just ridiculous as far as you're quite right. They've stuck what is in the top left-hand corner, pretty much, of an iPhone, and then put a big silver ring or a board around it and stuck it in the middle at the top, and it looks.
No. It's not in the middle. It's very, very lightly off-center, which is actually bothering me. If you look at the left, it's slightly smaller than the right.
Oh, yeah, so it is. How ridiculous. Anyway, that was all really. It was just these Chinese manufacturers are trying really hard to do things with the camera island, and almost all of them fail. The back of the OnePlus devices, I think, looks ridiculous with that great big circle. Anyway, that's just my opinion.
Yeah, well, they won't be around long enough for people to actually really notice. They'll just disappear and be replaced with the Note 15 series, which will probably be out 3 months from now. Well, there are leakages on the S25 line, which is from Galaxy, or from Samsung even, the Galaxy line S25. And it could be that we're no longer going to see an S25 Ultra. We might, in fact, see a return of the Note, which would be kind of cool. And that kind of makes sense. I think that's... Maybe they're getting far too many people asking questions. Where have the notes gone? We want notes. And they're like, oh, no, that's the Ultra. What? It makes sense to call it the Note, because it's a note-taking tablet, isn't our phone? Isn't
it? It is, and it's got a stylus in it, and you would expect that to be called a note for taking notes. And yeah, I think that makes complete sense to return. In fact, some YouTubers insist on calling the S24 Ultra the S24 Note. I've noticed the Note. And also, they're talking about changing the S25 Plus name to the S25 Pro. So it's all kind of as you say, this is all leaks, and we don't know what's going to happen really. But I agree with you. I think that calling it the Note is a much more descriptive term of what it is and what it does, instead of just following this Ultra thing.
Yeah. I would say I'm much happier with Plus than Pro. I don't see Pro being particularly useful. Like, even the PlayStation 5 is getting a Pro version, Pro being short for professional. And they did that with the PlayStation 4. What makes the S24 Pro more professional than the S24? Yeah,
the Pro thing gets chucked in, and Google are at it now with the Pixels, aren't they? And I don't know. People will call what they like on their phones, I suppose. Motorola are using Pro as well.
They could use slightly bigger and really big.
Yeah, or just do it on a size 1 to 5. This is a size 3 phone.
There was the Galaxy Mega as well, wasn't there, years ago?
It was a massive 6.4-inch screen, I seem to remember. At the time, we thought it was just ridiculously big.
It was, yeah, and it wasn't particularly good in the spec department, if memory serves. It was like a very weak Galaxy Note, but
I think
it was the Mega. You knew what you were getting with that terminology.
It was all about the size. I was looking at my vintages drawer the other day, and I saw the Dell Streak, and I picked it up and I looked at it and I thought, oh yeah, that's a 5-inch screen. When that came out, we thought that was just ridiculously huge as well. But looking at it now, it's smaller than most phones I've got here. Almost all of them.
Yeah, I've got my Touch Pro 2 still, my HTC Touch Pro 2, and I do pull it out every now and again, just have a wee look and go, I remember looking at that screen going, I need nothing else in my life, just this.
Yeah.
With the slide-out keyboard as well. It was a full computer on the go. It was a laptop. It had everything going for it. And I took it to Barcelona, actually, to just after I got it to Mobile World Congress, where Google gave me a Nexus 1. It was like, oh, wow! I put the Touch Pro 2 away and didn't take it back out again. Probably still has all my stuff from then.
Excellent.
Yeah. Right. Moving into the name of the game. It's actually quite packed this time around, but yeah. So online, some people probably know this, other people may not, but there is a whole benchmark where people test technology to see whether or not it runs Doom. And that can go all the way from the most modern technology right down to pregnancy kits. If it's got a screen, then they'll try and run Doom on it. Spectrum 48Ks, Sega Master Systems, Nintendo Entertainment Systems, they've all got some kind of format of Doom on there. So it only goes to show that AI now needs to be tested to see whether or not it can run Doom. And the bods over at Google have managed to generate an AI version of the classic first-person shooter. Ted, did you watch the video of this? Are you a Doom fan?
No, I'm afraid I didn't watch the video, and I'm not a Doom fan. I do, but looking at the screenshot from it, though, I do remember seeing it and probably playing with it briefly and not being particularly interested in it at the time. But it's interesting that that's become a standard, isn't it? That they test everything with. Why Doom? Why not some other game?
Because it's the greatest game ever made.
Okay.
Yeah, forget Mario. Doom's where it's at. And it's just been re-released on PlayStation 5 by the Night Dive folk, and it's worth going, if you've bought it on the PlayStation, go and download it again, because it's now a lot better than it used to be.
Right.
Well, there's caveats, I suppose, but yes, I've been playing through it on the PlayStation 5, and seeing the footage from this, it's not entirely convincing. It's a bit rough around the edges, to say the least, but it's there, and it actually opens up a whole rake of questions as to what the future of gaming is going to be actually like with AI, where you'll be able to describe what kind of game you want to play, as opposed to going out and buying the new game that's coming out. You know, and as actually Jason said, he talked about, was it the 1,000-year decade or something, wasn't it, in the last show, where we'll have a 1,000 years worth of, or 100 years maybe, of technological developments in the next decade, compared to where we were some time ago. And with the speed at which AI is doing things, in 10 years' time, it is entirely likely that we'll just be able to say, I'd like to play a game that looks a bit like this, and you can do that in it. And it'll design it for you there and then. And you probably have to pay per minute in order to do that. But, it's fascinating to see this being the possibility for the future, that this is what it could be like. And it's deeply scary. If you think about the problems your grandparents had dealing with the idea of recording a television program to their VCR and setting a time whenever they're going away on holiday, setting a time for EastEnders to be recorded on Tuesday night and programming the VCR to be able to do that. And how they went, I'll get the grandkids around to do that for me because that's far too complicated. When we are old and in a home, having to struggle to understand exactly what our grandkids are talking about is going to be an absolute nightmare. I'm dreading it. I'll be sitting there going, look, I just want to watch the third Dirty Harry movie, The Enforcer. That's it. I don't want to watch the VR version or the AI-generated version. I want to watch the DVD, please. Like, no, you can't do that anymore. It's illegal. So I'm worried. I'm worried.
So that's why they're saying that this is a grim milestone. Right.
It is,
Not
yeah.
not a technically
Yeah, that's a very...
fascinating milestone, a grim milestone.
Oh, no, it's both, but this is where it could go, where someone is just selling you a monthly subscription algorithm for you to be able to entertain yourself with. And our kids could be growing up saying, I'd like to see a movie a bit like Indiana Jones starring Roger Moore. And AI will try and work it out. AI will do it for you.
Yeah, yeah. It's Google's fault then, isn't it?
No. I think AI, the potential is shown here of what it can do, and that is very powerful. What it's done, and based around what it knows, it can do that. It can generate new levels for Doom, in the way that it's done before. We've had games in the past like No Man's Sky, which is procedurally generated, where you fly off to a planet, land on the planet, and the algorithm within the game has generated this planet for you to explore, and that can give you millions of different alternative planets to go to, and something new every time. But at the same time, it also leaves it somewhat empty, because you kind of start to know what to expect. There's going to be a settlement somewhere there. Starfield is another example, where you land on a planet and there's just a settlement there and a settlement there, and you can go in and blast your way around, and it looks the same as the last place you were at. It's maybe got the same layout, but it's a slightly different planet, so it's a wee bit different, but it's the same. So I've got AI can help with that, but I don't know it's necessarily a good thing, because it's not someone sitting down and designing it. And the wonderful thing about Doom is E1M1, or Episode 1 Map 1, on both Doom and Doom 2 are fantastic. They are legendary levels that have been worked out. Super Mario Brothers, you've got Mario Maker, where you can go design your own Mario levels, but none of them are as good as level 1 of Super Mario Brothers 1 and 3. I think you'll probably agree with that.
I think it depends on your what you've played, and what you see. For me, the very best Mario game is Super Mario World, and that's because that's where I jumped into it, and that's where I jumped into it. That's where I arrived, and I spent months on end enjoying that, and anything else. I remember then going to the 3D Mario afterwards, and I didn't like that at all. It was technically more advanced, of course, but I wanted to go back to my Super Mario World. And similarly, when I then started to look at the older, 8-bit versions of Mario from back in the day, I thought, this is just crap. I want to play Super Mario World. So I think to some degree, in answer to your question, it depends on where you came from, what you did, where you grew through.
Well, no. What you're saying is exactly on point with what I was saying, because Super Mario World, those levels were all designed by a person sitting there putting the platforms in particular areas, meticulously working it out to make it a challenge, but still accessible enough that you can get through it.
Yep.
But you have to put the work in, and they are classic levels in your mind, and you'll sit down and you'll love them. If it's AI that is designing the level for you and catering it to you, given your ability, I don't think it'll ever be quite as beautifully done or classically done, because the person beside you is not going to be experiencing the same level that you're experiencing, and they're going to have no desire for you to go, that was actually quite a good level. Do you want to try this level? Because it was quite good. And they're like, no, because I've got infinite possibilities of levels here to play, rather than playing yours.
Right. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, definitely. But I guess the world's just changing, isn't it? And I didn't think that AI would end up in kind of making games and allowing people to play games, but I guess it is.
Well, it changes the challenge. I think I'll summarise it as.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, well, moving ever forward, the Red Magic Gaming Pad is coming in 2 sizes. What exactly is the Red Magic Gaming tablet? Gaming pad.
Well, it's basically an Android tablet which has got really good specifications with the Red Magic label on it, so it's kind of gaming centric. Certainly, it's got a Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 chipset at the helm. Not an awful lot other than that we know about it. I don't think. I think it's leading up to an event in China where it's being released. But I don't know. Challenging Nvidia from the past and those kind of gaming centric tablets. Do you think that there's scope here to do that?
No. No, I was sitting going through the Play Store the other day thinking I'd like a new game to play, just on the go, because I'm a bit tired of all the ones that I've had for years, and I just couldn't find anything. I don't see anything that isn't full of in-app purchases or requires some sort of subscription to get the most out of, or you have to slog your way through it to save up enough gems to be able to buy a new gun or something like that. It's just, there's nothing there that is attractive. There's no Command and Conquer from back in the MS-DOS days, or Super Mario World, where you're just going to be sitting down and going, yeah,
we'll stick with Evercade.
Yes. The classic games, they're designed by people. Retro games are leaking, or have leaked. I think I've connected to the wrong website. That was Google doing that. Okay. We've talked about this on the Mewe group, but retro games are doing a new console, which is going to be a Spectrum 48K. If you know, in the past, retro games have put out the likes of the Amiga Mini, the Commodore 64 Mini, most recently the Atari 800 Mini. Their next project is the Spectrum 48K. It's not called a Mini because it's not a Mini. It's the same size as standard Spectrum 48K, and it's got a whole rake of exciting features that I'm dead chuffed about. It's going to have HDMI on the back, which is first and foremost. So you just plug it in and away you go. It's got a fully functioning rubber keyboard, because this was the classic 48K that had the rubber keys, and you can interact with it. You can sit and program BASIC to your heart's content, or you can load up your games, which are all stored on USB, and it's got, I think, was it 70 games built into it? Maybe. And it's just new, modern and lovely. And you can pre-order it now. I noticed someone had stuck it on Mewe. Smiths had listed it for $89.99, I think it was. And I'll be having one of these. Yeah, 48 games included, that's what it is, with 35 of which are crash smashes. And I'm not going to list all the games that are in there, but I will say that some of them are absolute bangers. Real bangers from the days of Spectrum. I could say Saboteur. I love the Saboteur. People loved Tolkien, so the Hobbit's there as well. And Target Renegade. Oh yeah. Manic Miner and Head Over Heels. There we go. That'll do for listing of games. It outputs at 720 HD. It's got PAL 50Hz or NTSC 60Hz compatibility. It's 4x3, which I think everyone should be fine with. And it'll feature a 32-page Crash Magazine mini-mag from your man, was it Chris Wilkins, is it, who does all those Crash magazines? He does Amtix as well, which is something I subscribe to, which is a small Amstrad-based magazine for retro news and things. So you can get a real nostalgia drive from this. I'm all over this. Can't wait. Want it. Ted,
I don't know any of this stuff. I never had one. So, like the Evercade, you'll have to lead me into it. But that added to the confusion is that, as you say, that link is wrong, and I can't actually see what it is you're talking about particularly. So, yeah, we need to fix that on the show notes. Otherwise, you'll be in trouble.
All right. Well, more than likely, and also it probably would have been better had I noticed that earlier on.
Right.
There, it's fixed now, and you can dribble over it. I'm sure you'll recognise the Spectrum once you see it.
I do recognise it, but I never had one myself. I think these were the days that I was probably into the BBC Acorn and other kind of devices that were very much more not game centric. But anyway, yeah.
Yeah. Jack the Nipper. Wow, that's on there. Match Day 2. That was the only football game I really loved other than Sensible's World of Soccer. Nods of Yesod. Yeah. It's a great, great Christmas. I'm dead excited. It's coming out on the 22nd of November. I'll be there day one. Do I do click and collect? Or do I do home delivery?
Amazon DE. There's no Amazon UK in there. Okay.
Oh, it's on Smith's. Smith's is a big toy shop for kids.
They've got it
they
on
also
game.
do computery stuff.
Yeah.
If you can find game. I don't know.
That's
Are
in
games
Spain.
still on the high street?
No. UK. Amazon UK. Hang on a minute. Oh yeah, $89.99. Yeah, you're right, in Amazon, and that is released on the 22nd of November. And Argos. That was the person in our group linked to the Argos one, I think. Was it?
No, Smith's they linked to.
Right, I'll shut up and sit back in the corner.
Well, Argos are actually doing 3 payments as well. So if you can't afford the 90 quid, you can pay it in 3 payments.
Very cleverly
30
worked out.
quid-ish. Not really. That's overestimated because it's $29.98. Never mind. On the back of that, Atari have also announced that they're going to be doing the 7800 Plus. And this is a new console that, get this, is compatible with the original cartridges. And they're going to be printing new cartridges and continuing to put out new cartridges, much like the Atari cartridges that we had of old. It comes with a sequel to, I forgot the name of it, Crystal Castle, isn't it? But it's now called Crystal City or something like that.
Crystal Castles.
It's Crystal Castles. Maybe, I can't remember. But it's not a game that I was particularly excited about.
New cartridge, Bentley Bears Crystal Quest, homebrew sequel
Crystal
to Crystal
Quest,
Castles.
right. Yeah, so they're encouraging people to develop this as well, if it's going to be homebrew stuff as well. So you'll be able to buy new cartridges and dust off your old ones. And it'll probably put up the value of the old ones as well, or could diminish the value of the old ones if they start releasing new ones. You know, because you have, say, Asteroids Deluxe, which is going to be a new version of Asteroids, which will probably feature the old version of Asteroids in there, because Atari will want you to buy it, as opposed to go onto eBay and try and pick up an old copy of Asteroids. But yeah, it's a good-looking cartridge-centric console. Do you remember the 7800?
Same thing again. I do remember it, and I recognise it, but just never had one. When it comes to gaming on Tech Addicts, you really need some other. You need a third co-host to talk to about gaming, because outside of Mario and BBC Acorn, I'm a bit lost really. But yes, I do remember seeing it. I just didn't ever have one.
You see, the 2600 was before the NES, and then there was the 5400 that was the bit of it was a wee bit rubbish, to be honest. And then the 7800 came along, and it was the most capable console that they put out before the Jaguar, I think it was. And it didn't do that well, but it was a wee bit of a classic in that it was a really capable games machine, and the games were really good looking on it. But they didn't quite manage to beat out Nintendo when the Master System came along at the same time. So they were they're running in third place, and it was ultimately the downfall. But it wasn't due to the hardware. The 7800 was a wonderful console. It was huge. It was really, really big. But I don't particularly like the controller that comes with it. I don't remember that being the original controller. You can get it's called the CX40 Plus wireless joystick that'll work on it, and there's a gamepad too. But that gamepad, it doesn't speak to me the way Atari gamepads speak to me. Maybe I've just never seen it before, but maybe it is what the classic one looked like. I don't know. But yeah, I don't know that I'm going to get one of these. The price is that's the peripherals at £35. You can get them both for $35. New games are going to be $30 each. I don't know, that's going to be a hard sell. Like a buying copy of Asteroids for $30, and the 7800 itself is going to be $130. And you can pre-order it from Atari today. Oh, not bad, not bad. Nah, I don't think I'll bother. I'll save
Seems
my
a
money
lot
for the
for a
Spectrum.
retro game, £30, doesn't it? Or $30. One game. At least with the Evercade, you get about 10 games or more bundled. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, for 20 quid or thereabouts. Yeah. But to go back to you, Ted, you've got a Wii controller. That you
Only
want to
really
talk about,
because I've got
for
this Android. What's it called? The Razer Edge, which it sits here and I keep looking at it. I think I must use it. And I've also got the thing that came with it, which is the controller, which opens up and closes like that. Anyone would think this was an audio podcast. And so it was of interest to me slightly because it's a redesign. The Kishi is a redesign of this one, and I have to say that this redesign makes it look very Sony, doesn't it? It makes it look very like a PlayStation thingy, whereas this one I've got in my hand is more distinctively kind of Razer looking. But yeah, I mean, it's just a redesign, and they've rounded the edges, the places where you hold your hand, much like the Sony ones, I think, are moulded into the. It clearly is going to go into the grip of your hand much better. That Razer edge that they've got on there looks like it's the same as mine. I think that is the Razer Edge. If they're, oh no, hang on a minute. They've got a speaker on the bottom of that, haven't they? Oh no, it's not. It's a card slot. Yeah, I think it is the Edge. Anyway, that was one of my other promises to Tech Addicts, was to get that out more often and actually play with it. But as you said earlier, Android games are just a bit, I need to get stuck into Steam and stuff to do that, to get some decent games that are not Android based. Anyway, I've said enough now. Your turn.
No, you're fine. It was quite interesting listening to Babylon there. That was
at least the AVXY buttons are not crushed together like those little devices. On my Razer thingy here, I can actually get my thumb on all four buttons, and it's actually really comfortable. And this one looks as though it's going to be very similar. I think the difference here is that they've rounded those bits that go into your palms, and yeah, I can see how that could be a better fit. Right, I finished now.
No, I do think that these things are important. I like them. I have two now, but I just find it harder and harder to find a game to play on them from the Android store, and I end up heavily relying more so on retro emulators and things like that.
Well, this Edge device, this Razer Edge device, has got the Steam store built into it and another store, which I can't remember the name of. So you don't have to just use Android stuff. It's got it's running on an Android device, obviously, but it hooks out to online other resources.
All right, okay, and it'll share your Steam.
I think so.
Experience. Well, you'd have to run Steam on your computer, and then it renders it and sends it out. Yeah, okay. Fair enough. Well, there's a chap who's entered into the record books, actually, for having the most consoles hooked up to a television. A Saudi Arabian gamer who goes by the name of Ibrahim Al-Nazir has over 400 consoles in his collection, and they're all hooked up to the one TV with various different switchy boxes to switch between. No, I did notice that he doesn't have controllers on every single one of them, so I think it's all for show. And he needs to have console controllers hanging out of them, although because it looks far too tidy. And it's the controller consoles, or the console controllers, that make things very untidy because they've got all kinds of wires and things like that, especially if you have 2 or 3 players on the one console, which all of these should really have. Then it gets messy. But fair play to him. Did you watch the video that goes along with this?
What did that reveal?
Oh, right, okay. Well, he just switches from one to the other. He's got a massive spreadsheet on a computer on this at one side of the room, and he types into it Super Nintendo or something like that, and then it tells him what to set the switch boxes to, or which particular switch box to go and click, and he clicks it, and then all of a sudden Street Fighter 2 pops up. Not that there's a controller plugged into the Super Nintendo. But yeah, he goes through a bunch of different.
It's just mad, isn't it? Oh, he's got a remote
it is, yeah,
controller which he's using with one of the consoles. He's plugged in a Bluetooth remote thingy. Right.
Yeah. I think that's the Dreamcast maybe, but I don't think they all have those. But maybe
more money than sense, I would say.
It must be. Well, I was thinking about his social life, and he could never trust his friends. I think his friends would always be wanting to come round just to play his game consoles. They're not there to see him.
There's a big picture of him playing Street Fighter there. I did like Street Fighter as well. Again, that was the Super Nintendo system. Anyway, sorry, carry on. Oh, okay.
Yes. Well, he's actually playing King of Fighters on the Neo Geo. Anyway, Football Manager 2025.
Something I know about, or I used to know about. Well, no, just that back in the day when I was using a computer, a PC, to play games on it, the whole football and this was when I was interested in football as well. The whole Football Manager thing, I just loved it. I spent hours and hours in front of my computer when I wasn't using SimCity or PGA Tour Golf. I was playing Football Manager and making all those lovely decisions. And I remember the stage at which they introduced graphics. So instead of watching the football game, instead of watching just dealing with all the buying and the selling and the picking the squad and the blah 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 blah, you could see the games going on, and it was really crap and basic, but it suddenly became a live thing you could watch, as opposed to just basically a database which cleverly moved data around and you made decisions, and the algorithms told you if you made money or you'd lost games, and it was a bit crap. But this one, I haven't played Football Manager for years and years and years, but I'm sure you have since I have. But it looks like it's so advanced now, and I don't know if I could get back into it, because I think part of the attraction to me was the text-based stuff and not watching games of football. And I guess that now it's all cleverly geared up for kids to be able to see people on really good graphics, actually playing a match of football, isn't it?
Well, yeah. I don't have any experience with Football Manager, but I had Championship Manager. Actually, the first time I ever came across it was when I first started working for the Department of Health, of all places. The computer system that they had in the Department of Health up near Stormont in Northern Ireland had a copy of it on the network, and you were able to play it with other people. And me being fairly young, and not wanting to do any work, I quite happily partook in playing Championship Manager at the expense of the taxpayer. Sorry. But yeah, it was good fun. So I imagine it's a bit like FIFA and Pro Evo. They're kind of the same thing, but from different.
Yeah, but it's all graphic
software houses.
I'm just seeing another screenshot of what I remember. You see, back in the day, I used to buy Sheep magazine. Was it Shoot or Match magazine? Sheep magazine. I don't know, I can't remember. One of the magazines every week, and I'd have this thing on my wall, which every piece of little card had the football team's name on it, and I would watch all the results, and I'd move the team, and on my wall it would have the current situation of the Division 1 and the Division 2 and 3 and 4, and it was all statistic stuff with me. It was just really interesting statistically, and the data was the interest. But as I say, I think now it's people don't want that. They want to actually play football with AI, no doubt.
And they certainly don't want that on their walls. They wanted Sam Fox and Linda Lusardi.
Yes.
Well, yeah, a new version of that is very welcome. Yeah, this is obviously, I said FIFA and Pro Evo, they're kind of playing the game, whereas this is behind the scenes, like Championship Manager. So it's a management sim more so than anything else, but incredibly popular. And
that's the phrase.
What's that?
A management sim.
That's right. Yes,
Well
we get
done.
them a lot. Cool. Okay, next up is the Retroid Pocket 5, which has been confirmed as the successor to one of the most popular and highly thought of emulation bits of hardware that you can purchase for playing your old games. This is it's a refresh that has an AMOLED panel, which is it's the first time they've done that. They've had IPS panels up until now. So it's 5.5 inch that outputs at 1080p with a 16:9 aspect ratio. Not much has been confirmed yet. They've just confirmed that there's going to be a Retroid Pocket, but it's going to have this bigger 5.5 AMOLED 16:9 1080p display. That's all they're confirming.
Okay.
They're comparing it to ones that have other specs.
It does look quite big.
It should be, yeah. And I'd like to think this is going to be able to perform nicely on up to Xbox, the original Xbox level of hardware emulation. So that'd be nice.
Can you get it out to a telly?
You can, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Not that you'd really want to do that. It's designed to go with you.
Yeah. But if you happen to be at home, you have the choice.
Yeah.
It does look nice, and I like going back to the ABXY buttons. They do look nicely spaced out. So
I think I'd happily have one of these if I were to find one somewhere at a modest price. $279 is what, 230 quid. You probably have to order it from AliExpress and then pay import ransom, which will take it up to about £500. Grand. Yeah,
Brilliant.
Flap your trap about an app. Microsoft are going to enable BitLocker because that sounds like a good idea following everything that's happened over the last couple of months. BitLocker does device encryption by default on Windows 11. Are you prepared for this, Ted?
Well, yeah, I'm encouraging this because I've had to buy Windows 11 or 10 Pro versions to get BitLocker previously, and because of my living situation, I really need to lock down my drives with data on. So this is very welcome for me. I no longer would have to make sure I get the Pro version of Windows. You can, because it'll work on the home version as well. As long as it's Windows 11, then they're making it work. It's not working yet. I checked on my computer because my computer's got Windows 11 Home, and I checked this morning to see if it's working. But no, it's not. It's not there. There's a landing page for it in the settings, but there's nothing. It doesn't work. It's nothing there. So it's coming. And I encourage that because I think BitLocker has helped me a great deal over the years. But it is specific to my situation.
Yeah. I suppose we didn't actually discuss the whole thing that happened with BitLocker and Linux installs recently, where people were kind of locked out because Windows decided it didn't like having a second operating system available to its drive. And BitLocker decided, no, not having any of that. Due to one of the changes that they made. But going forward, having that installed on everyone's device will no doubt have no ramifications whatsoever on anyone ever.
Oh, There is one ramification, which I forgot to mention, is that in order to use it, you've got to start afresh. So BitLocker, if you've got an SSD, core SSD on your computer, which is where your C drive, you have to wipe it and start again to get BitLocker to work, apparently.
And you'll have to disconnect all other drives as well when you're first setting it up, and then introduce them, because it'll have a hissy fit otherwise. Yeah.
But anyway,
that's just Windows for you. Yeah. You don't get that kind of thing. Oh no, I won't even do that. No. Windows control panel is going away. Oh, I do like the Windows control panel. It gave you good control. Yeah. And having to set up shortcuts to it so that you could bypass the other settings menus that Windows had installed was always one of the first things I ever did when setting up a fresh install of Windows. Will you miss Windows Control Panel? Do you spend much time in it?
Well, apparently it's got latest news is it's got a stay of execution because Microsoft have decided that we're not quite ready for this, and people can't quite get. I can't remember the details now, but you can't quite get what people need from it. So it looks like it's going to be maybe next year and not this year, sort of thing. But yeah, I do tend towards control panel. Whenever I'm setting up a new Windows computer, I always make sure that's on my desktop to use. Mm-hmm. I do try to go and use settings as dictated by the system, but I do get a bit confused with it, and back on control panel, I just know where everything is. But it's a learning process, isn't it?
It is, and I think if Microsoft were to pay attention to Android, over the years Android has torn up their settings menu and changed everything around. They've moved everything and retitled everything, and that's not an easy thing for people to do. One thing that stayed consistent within Windows for a long time is the control panel. And most people have survived very well in Windows ecosystem because they've known exactly where to go to be able to fix stuff, because they haven't dicked around with it, but they are starting to really dick around with it. And that's not going to make any friends of the users across the globe, is it? Really?
Indeed.
If someone were to move your dustpan and brush every 2 weeks, would you not get a bit annoyed? Or the salad cream, if they were to take it out of the fridge and put it in different cupboards around your home, would you not be really annoyed?
I'm sure you would.
Yes. I've got a wife who likes to do that.
Particularly if you change the lid and how you open it.
Yes. Give it a wee wipe, I suppose, to get rid of the kind of manky salad cream that builds up around the top.
Indeed. I'm just trying to expand your simile.
Excuse me? Right, okay. Microsoft's got a controversial recall feature that they put out a wee while ago, and it's coming on the 11th of... No, it's coming to Windows 11 in October. It's not coming on the 11th of October. And it's still happening.
No, it's opt-in.
That doesn't mean anything whenever it comes to Microsoft. OneDrive is currently opt-in, but it's bloody well running on your computer, even though you might have uninstalled it.
I've uninstalled. Let me see if it's still there now. I took one. Yeah, it's gone.
No,
it's not there now.
It's not. It's still there.
It's not. It's not anywhere in sight.
It'll sync your desktop shortcuts at some point in the future.
Yeah,
That's the bit that narked me, and I went looking, and it was still there.
Anyway, so this is supposed to be opt-in now, and the recall feature is going to capture every 30 seconds or something. No, 15 seconds, isn't it?
Yes.
Which means you need a massive hard drive and what have you to process it. Anyway, we talked about that before. The only news here is it's coming in October, and it's opt-in for now.
For now, yeah. They say it is. Yes. Right. Windows 11 AI may soon peek at your videos and audio files Which is the same thing as
This
as
is
recall.
opt-in. This is opt-in. This is definitely opt-in. No, recall doesn't peek inside your video and audio files. This new feature, AI-driven thingy, does peek inside your... Only if you want it to, though. It's opt-in. And it can summarize what's inside all your files in your computer. The hard drives are going to have to get massive, aren't they, for these? Well, unless they just drive it all from the cloud, I suppose, which is probably what they want everyone to do,
And,
so they can
and
charge
they want
them.
you to pay for it.
Yeah. Bastards.
And then they take your data and then serve you stuff back, going, oh, well, you like this video, so maybe you'll like this video too. And serve you more of the same. Because obviously you like that type of thing. And you can pay to see it.
And also try to catch people out for being naughty with audio and video files. You're not supposed to have that. Did you buy that, or did someone share it with you?
Yeah, well, that is one big problem, but, it's still a grey area, and they can't prosecute people for having a backup of a movie that they legally own the license to.
Exactly.
Right, Google, Gallows, and Chrome Corner. What's new in the world of the big G?
Just one thing, really, this time, which is the Lenovo Chromebook Duet, which has got a makeover and an upgrade. Now, first of all, we had the Duet.
You had one of these, didn't you?
I've got the Duet 3 and the Duet 3... No, hang on a minute. I've got the original Duet and the Duet 3, but I didn't have the Duet 5. The Duet 5 was the bigger one, right?
Okay.
And this is an upgrade to the Duet 3, a new version of Duet 3. And it looks like Robbie on Chrome, what's it called? Chrome Unboxed has gone through this, and we'll link to his article in the show notes. But it looks like it's really, really good. It's got a 3.5mm audio out for the first time. It's a shame that they haven't added a micro SD card slot, from what I can see. But it looks very slim and lovely and just the same. It's got a really odd stand on the back, which is in keeping with the Lenovo tablet that you spoke about earlier, the Plus thingy, the Chrome. No, not the tablet Plus. But it's an odd shape. It's different to that, and it looks just a bit odd. It's apparently going to come with a keypad. Sorry, a key pad and a touch pad. Oh, I can't say the keyboard and touch pad, and also a stylus as well. But there's no word on specific pricing yet. This is all kind of leaked stuff. But the big news here really is that even though this is brand new, it doesn't meet the requirements of the Chromebook Plus, base criteria, and it seems to me that the reason that is the case is because they're insisting on continuing to use the what's it called, the chipset, which
the MediaTek?
The MediaTek MT8189 and 8196, which are really powerful chipsets according to this article, but they don't comply because technically they don't come up to the base criteria, so it's not going to be a plus unit. But what Robbie's saying here is that actually all the AI stuff is perfectly capable of running on this device, because it's really powerful chipset. But and he's hoping that Google and Chrome will do something about the criteria for the Chromebook Plus thing, so that the AI stuff can run legitimately on it. Anyway, yeah, that was the news really, except that it looks very nice, and I really like my Chromebook Duet. I didn't. The first one was a bit underpowered, to be honest, but the Duet 3 is really good. Have you still got a Duet kicking about?
I never had one. I looked into getting one for my wife at one stage, but then I ended up just getting her a HP laptop instead.
Okay, what was the Chromebook tablet you had kicking about? That was a Lenovo, wasn't it? Oh no, hang on a minute. That was a Android, wasn't it? It was a P11 or something.
Oh yes, yeah. No, I had a P11 for a wee while. Yeah, I quite enjoyed that. Right. Yeah, but no, I I had an Acer Chrome tablet ages ago.
Okay.
It was the first one that they put out. Acer made them for
Right.
education, but I think they took it back, actually. Yeah.
Anyway, I like the Duet 3, so I'm quite excited about this, and I like the fact that they've added a 3.5mm. Not that I use it a huge amount, but it's nice to have if needed.
Yes, yes. Okie dokie, well, moving into the bargain basement, where we've got loads of interesting things. And I've got one which I spotted online, and I'm driving over there after work. After this.
Yes, work.
To see if I can pick one up, but apparently Lidl have multimeters for £3 in store, and they come complete with cables. So I'm going to go and see if I can grab me one of them for £3. Absolutely, I'll maybe buy two. Woohoo! One for me and one for the boy. And yeah, everyone should have a good multimeter somewhere in the house. You never know when you're going to need one.
Quite so.
Yes. Ted, something
right.
I bought, actually.
SmartTag2. I got a set of 4 of these second hand, and I use them all the time. They're really good. But they only work with Galaxy devices. So this is Samsung Galaxy SmartTag2. The single one has been reduced from about £23 they normally are to £17.50. You say you bought one of these, not 4?
Yeah, I just bought one. I didn't realise you had them. What do you use them for?
My dad, and he's got one on his key ring for his car and one on his key ring for his house keys, so that whenever he is out and about, I can track him, because Google Maps is so shite it doesn't work.
That's true.
And I've got one on in my scooter. Don't tell anyone, in case it gets nicked. And I've got one on my key bunch as well. So yeah, we've got 4 between us.
Oh, cool. Yeah, no, I meant to pick one up before I went away. I went on holiday a wee while ago, and I wanted to throw it in my luggage just to make sure I knew exactly where it was. But I didn't get it in time, and it arrived after I got back. So I'm now trying to think of applications to use it for, and it's currently sitting in my car.
Well, yeah, that's a good phrase for it to be. If your car gets nicked, obviously don't have it on show, but somewhere hidden in the car, you can then see where your car is.
That's true, yes. But I don't think it will. Famous last words. Okay, sorry, touching wood. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, good call. £17.50 is a bargain, and I might pick up another couple, because I might put one in my son's school bag.
Yeah, don't tell him.
Well, it's more, when I was at school, I think in first or second form, I remember a bunch of kids' bags went missing, and I had to sit and write out all of my history exercise book again.
Yeah.
With all these things, and the teacher insisted we used a fountain pen for writing in our history books, and it was a nightmare. It was awful. I had to borrow someone else's book and go and write everything down. And it was punishment whenever I was the one who was subjected to the theft. That was their resolution. So
you could put one in your missus's bag, so you could see when she's going to the boyfriend's.
yes, quite right. Yeah, that's a good idea. I'll do that. Next up is the Western Digital Black, the WD_Black. This is the SN770 2TB NVMe M.2 SSD. This is the 2280 version, not the 2230. And it's been dropped in price, get this, from £257.96 on Amazon by 61% down to £99.98.
Wow.
That's fantastic. I don't believe it's actually retailed for that amount of money at any point during its lifespan, because we've talked about this a few times before. But this one does go in your PS5 and gives you 2 terabytes of storage for £100. That's great.
Very good, yeah. Very nice. Good bargain, that is. Delivers on Sunday the 8th of September. Why is that taking so long to deliver?
I imagine they've probably run out of stock and they're having to order more in.
Okay.
I thought that would be a really popular purchase, that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, this is something that I meant to do some homework about, because, and I completely forgot. The Canon EOS R10 APS-C mirrorless camera body reduced from £999 to £629, which looked like a bit of a bargain to me. But it hasn't got a lens with it, but I'd meant to go and look at the specs of this, and as I say, I completely forgot. But if it's a Canon EOS, I imagine that it's going to be really, really nice. I used to have a Canon back in the day, a film camera, not a digital one, and it was
Or a
really
pocket
nice.
Canon.
Yes, and it's got the Fujifilm nipple on the back, which I thought that Fujifilm had a kind of monopoly on that. What's it called? A patent on that. So perhaps Canon have paid them some money, but it looks nice, and it's quite significantly reduced in value, in cost.
626. This does 4K, doesn't it? 4K video, yeah.
Yeah.
It's quite a popular one for that too. I remember a local filmmaker used to swear by these when he was making his digital videos. That sounds dodgy, but he was actually making proper direct video films, and he was shooting them all on these. Yeah.
Right. Very good.
Cool. Next up is a SanDisk 256 Ultra dual drive Go USB-C flash drive. This is a memory stick that works with Android and tablets and things like that. But it's got a USB-A at one end and a USB-A receiver at one end, and then a USB Type-C at the top. So you can plug it into your phone and then be able to plug other things into it if you need to, which is kind of a handy feature, if you like.
Yeah.
And then you can take it out and plug it directly into your laptop using the other end, which is a handy feature, if you like.
Indeed it is. Very nice indeed. And I like the green colour.
Oh, did I say the price? I don't know if I said the price. It's down from £23 to $18.99, and there's a bunch of different variants, but for 256, that's usually quite nice. 512 hasn't come down in price, or oh yes, the gold version of it is down 12% from £61 to £45 if you need a bigger size. But that 256 I thought was quite a nice little. Yeah, it's not on sale. I just clicked back onto it, and it's no longer £19.
It is for me.
But or maybe I've clicked on the wrong variant. You have to be careful. Follow the link in the show notes, folks, if you want to take advantage of it.
$18.99.
Yes, you waited well.
My next one is the Pixel Watch, because the Pixel Watch has been usurped by the Pixel Watch 3 now. So this is the 2, this is the original one, which I've still got here and still works, and I'm using it now and again. Anyway, reduced to 129 quid from 339. Mind you, it's not usually 339. It's usually much less than that. I think the general price tends to be about 200 quid. Anyway, 129 quid. And there's nothing wrong with it. You don't need Wear OS 5 on the Pixel Watch 3. You can make do with this one. It's perfectly all right, except that it's a bit small. I do like the bigger size of the new Pixel Watch 3. This one does feel a bit kind of small and girly. Oops, I'm not allowed to say that.
How's actually compatibility with other devices?
It's fine, yeah.
Say for your
it's absolutely fine.
Yeah.
Unlike the Galaxy system, it works with any Android phone you attach to it, and has all the functionality through the Fitbit app. Or if you want to, just use the Google Fit app, and you can install those on any Android phone at all, even a Galaxy. Compatibility is perfect.
Bargainerific. Bargainerific? Yeah, okay. Next up is something that I bought as well. I've got one right here. It's the Amazon Basics Micro SD XC card. It's 512 gigabytes. Comes with an SD adapter, and it's
quid.
$29.69.
That's
for half a terabyte. It is, yeah. I had 128 gigabytes in my tablet, and when I went away, I was being selective about what to sync onto my tablet for flights and for sitting up and watching things at night, and I just thought, sod it. I'm going to go and buy a bigger card so I can have Plex sync more stuff down. And this is was it U3 Class 10
V30.
A2
Yeah, it's
V30. Yeah,
good
it's got
card.
loads of things written on it.
But who knows who makes this Amazon basic stuff? It could be SanDisk. I mean, no one will know probably, but I've never heard any complaints about them. And I can't believe the price of that.
No,
£29 for half a terabyte. Amazing.
I'm going to tempt fate here by saying that I think most, if not all, of the active SD cards that I'm currently using, micro SD cards, and that includes for security cameras around the house, they're all Amazon basics, and I haven't had a single issue in a lot of years. I did have SanDisks and various different brands in my security cameras, and I'd find that after about 6 months, perhaps, they just die. But the Amazon basic ones, touching of the wood, they've held strong. They're fine.
Yeah, good. They're probably made by I don't know. Maybe Samsung make them for Amazon. I don't know. As I say, we'll probably never know. Last up,
someone will tell us.
Yes, somebody, dear listeners, you can tell us who makes them. Last up is something that I've got in the same way as you got all the things you bought, which is the the Soundcore Liberty 4 NC earbuds, and they're really good. They've been reduced from £80 to 55, and they're a bit kind of clunky. They're quite big, but actually they're quite capable and do lots of things. And the Soundcore app is really good, and that works well with them. And they're pretty comfortable as well. It's a nice big Qi wireless charging case, and the battery life's really good. Bluetooth 5.3, and I've got no complaints really about these at all, and they've been reduced significantly. I think I got them on a Black Friday day or something, so I paid about this price as well. But yeah, recommended.
There's a promotional message as well where if you enter the code, that's not dumb, is it? No, it's OUMDEDK4. You'll receive one free Anker 100 watt USB-C charging cable.
Oh, right.
That's nice.
Yes. 100-watt cable.
So,
well, that's not to be sniffed at, because most cables are a bit shite, so 100-watt cable's quite good.
Yeah, it is, yeah. You pay good money for those. I bought a couple a wee while ago, and the 100-watt ones were, I think, £7 or £8 or something like that. Not bad.
The Anker, let's have a look and see how much let's put the words in just to waste some time, in case we're not up to 2.5 hours yet. Anker 100-watt USB. Oh, here it is. Look, £5.99. Oh, it's £6 worth.
Not bad, but that's on the back to school deal as well. So normally they're £10.
Oh yeah, that's right. You're right. Very good.
Cool. Grand. Well, that about brings us to the end of our 2.5 hour marathon. No, we're hitting 2 hours just nicely, and that's where we'll finish it. Goodbye. If you want to get in touch with us, do email us at gareth@techaddicts.uk. You can also find us on Twitter as well, at techaddictsuk. I'm on Twitter too, at Gareth Myles, GarethMyles, and I have my .com that features the same spelling as my Twitter handle. Ted, where can they find you?
They won't find me on Twitter, or indeed on X, but they will find me...
You are on Twitter.
I am, but I'll never go there. Well, unless I'm plugging something that Motorola have sent me, then I do. Then I get you and Steve to copy it out so it looks like I'm actually using it. Anyway, not the item from Motorola, I mean Twitter. X. Yes. Ted Salmon.
Hot water is apparently boiling.
TedSalmon.com is where you'll find me, everything I do. I am also on Mastodon, but I hardly ever go there either. You'll find me mostly in Mewe, and at TedSalmon.com is where you'll find links out to all our audio podcasts, of which there was a Whatever Works the other day with Aidan, and this week we've got a Projector Room coming up, and of course last night we had APS-C as always, and also the links to all the Mewe groups where we hope you'll come and join us. and natter with us about all things tech and film and whatever you want to talk about. We'll talk to you about it. And if you want to buy me a coffee for all of that stuff that I do, you can do that. And it's at paypal.me/Ted Salmon. Finished.
All right, okay. Well, we'll bring it to the end there. And we'll be back in, I don't know, 2 weeks' time probably, with any luck. And we'll talk to you then. Take care and have a lovely fortnight.
Bye-bye.
Bye.